Female Sexuality, Portrayed Through Literature and Biology. Case Study The Awakening by Emily Gross. Boys can have sex all they want, but whenever a girl gets a little frisky, she is automatically dubbed a slut. At some point, society decided that it was improper for a lady to act on her sexual desires. Boys can live it up, but girls live in a world that restricts them from expressing their true selves. However, one saving grace is art. Art is a means of human expression that embraces those thoughts, feelings, and desires. It transforms them into songs, ballets, or paintings, or literature. Writing loves to talk about how sex plays a role in the day-to-day. The Awakening by Kate Chopin does just this. Chopin constructs a story about a young female named Edna Pontier who is married with kids at the end of the 19th century. Edna is awakened to her animal desires, which prompts her to interact with younger men and eventually leave her family. Pretty much all of Edna's actions defy convention and appall her fellow society. But when one considers the biology that is motivating Edna, her actions become much more understandable. The theory of evolution and sexual selection help elucidate Edna's character, whereas initially she seemed quite irrational. So, biology gives us a greater insight into the story, while the literature connects us to our own biology. In this way, literature and biology interact mutualistically to help explain the female experience. In science, a mutualistic relationship refers to an interaction between two organisms in which both benefit. The classic example is of a flower and a hummingbird. The flower provides sweet sustenance for the hummingbird, while the hummingbird helps the pollination process for the flower. To much the same way, biology provides sustenance for art, and art delves into the biology. To illustrate this point, we will take a deeper look into the happenings of the awakening to better understand Edna's behavior. For instance, when Edna leaves her husband to engage with younger men, her behavior is criticized by both characters and readers. Her actions violate our perception of marriage, that a person commits to another and they stay together for the rest of their lives. But, biologically speaking, marriage does not make sense, and humans are one of the only species with such a ritual. In fact, most animals have multiple sexual partners. It becomes even more understandable when you consider who she is kissing. All of Edna's escapades occur with younger men. Based on the theory of sexual selection, the female in the species is almost always attracted to the male who can ensure her youth the best chance of survival, the robust, healthy, attractive, young men. So, at first glance, Edna appears like a loose woman, but upon closer inspection, we see that Edna is attracted to young men who are not her husband because she is evolutionarily designed to be. Another deceiving characteristic of Edna is her indifference towards her children. Edna's husband Leon reproaches his wife with her inattention, her habit of neglect of the children. Edna is later described as not a mother woman. She was fond of her children in an uneven, impulsive way. She would sometimes forget them. But just because Edna does not fit the role of mother deemed acceptable by society, does not mean she falls short from an evolutionary standpoint. In nature, very few parents are involved in their offspring's lives. A mother may be a womb for a period of development or may build a nest for eggs, but once the youth are born, moms generally don't stick around much longer. Natural selection means survival of the fittest. So Edna's inattention towards her kids is just because she is more focused on meeting her own needs. In this light, Edna's character becomes much more understandable. Thus, the biology of natural selection help explain this literature. At the same time, the literature acknowledges the effects of our own biology. It does this by showing how we are biologically driven by impulses under which we have very little control. A lot of art is about this very issue. In fact, these desires, love, lust, sex, is what great art is made of. It can be found in a violent brushstroke or passionate choreography, or perhaps the sensuous melodies of a musical piece. In fact, music is what first awakens Edna's dormant spirit. One evening, a talented pianist is called upon to play, and the first chord struck upon the piano sent a keen tremor down Mrs. Pontier's spinal column. Perhaps it was the first time her being was tempered to take an impress of the abiding truth. Art is a way to express the unadulterated feelings within us. Art is truth. Therefore, it makes sense why Edna would respond so strongly to music, because it allows her to feel her true, unadulterated self. Also, based on sexual selection, beautiful songs and pretty images are supposed to attract females because it can lead to mating. It is hardwired within the female gender to respond to art forms. Much of how Edna conducts herself spits in the face of what society deems as appropriate female behavior for a wife and for a mother. But, through a scientific standpoint, Edna fits the female role. She acknowledges her desires in a singularly focused survival of the fittest kind of way. By evaluating this novel through the context of science and evolution, we can sympathize, understand, and relate to Edna as a symbol for our own animal urges and actions. In this way, The Awakening is an example of how literature and biology feed off each other to explain the plight of female sexuality. So the next time you hear a girl called a slut, just consider that she is simply at the biological mercy of lust.